Dublin, a city where old meets new, where music meets literature, and there's always a great story around every corner. When it comes to Dublin's historic streets, Colm is like a human encyclopedia. But unlike an actual encyclopedia, he's about to take me on a literary pub crawl. Colm's been conducting these for almost 30 years. I've got to say, your tour sounds right up my street. So it's literature and pubs.
Yep, the pub, the poet and the pint. So it's a winning formula.
It is.
And actually, this is where we start, at the Duke Pub on Duke Street.
Why?
So, well, great associations with two writers, Samuel Beckett and James Joyce. Beckett was a student around the corner in Trinity College, and Joyce was a student at the old Catholic University up on St. Stephen's Green.
What reaction do you get from people when you tell them that these great writers were actually in that room?
Well, they know about the writers because they go there from abroad, and a lot of the writers left Ireland and said goodbye to the 4 F words of Irish life: faith, fatherland, family and friendship. So their brand has been exposed to other people elsewhere, and then when they come to Dublin they see it as a cradle of genius for a lot of the writers.
And a pint or two helps with the inspiration?
Totally. And here's, speaking of that, there's more along the way this way.
I know where we are now.
Yeah, this is the surly front of Trinity College.
I've never heard it called that before.
Yeah, Joyce described that in one of his books. But it's also the entry to the Book of Kells, and one of the most famous sort of tourist attractions in the city.
It's so busy.
It's incredible. Thousands of people go through there every day.
One more tourist?
Two more.
Oh, you're tourists
Yeah.
today. Come on then. It is absolutely magnificent, isn't it?
Yeah, this is the oldest university in Ireland, so Trinity College, Dublin.
And how many great writers have been through this college, would you say?
Well, loads in the modern era, but I suppose the one that our visitors on the literary pub crawl know best would be Oscar Wilde, who came here in 1874. And he was called into the room with his tutor, John Penton Mahaffey, and he said to him, "Oscar, I'm afraid you're not clever enough for us here at Trinity. I'm sending you down to Oxford University."
Oh my God.
That was a sneaky way of telling him that he won a scholarship to Magdalen, and he went off there and never really came back to Ireland much after that. So he launched himself on the stage that he wanted to go to, which was London, because he saved London society from boredom.
Goodness me, what a great story. So Colm, we've talked a lot about the writers who've been influenced by Dublin. One thing we haven't talked about, of course, is the pub.
Well, Dublin is a UNESCO City of Literature, like Edinburgh, but pubs have played a very central role. There's 850 pubs in Dublin.
No.
Yeah, and as Joyce said, how to cross Dublin without passing a pub? By going into every one.
Wow,
And
that would take some doing, wouldn't it?
It absolutely would. But this is a lovely pub to go into, and it's called the Stag's Head, and it's a beautiful Victorian gin palace. And a lot of writers would have come to pubs like this because they went in to talk to journalists who were editors of newspapers that got their work into print for them. Because
Okay.
don't forget, in 1929, the Irish Free State created a censorship act to stop the Californication of Ireland.
Right.
So films were banned, books were banned, and the writer, many of them got out, but those who didn't went underground into the pubs to look to journalists to help them out.
So it wasn't just a social thing. They weren't just going in there to get drunk. They were
Not
doing
at
it
all.
for business.
No, it's a professional reason for a certain trade to come to a pub. So other trades had it. So you had bricklayers, you might have had dockers, you might have had cattle drovers. Would all have a certain pub in Dublin that they would all go to. Why? Because they would get a job in there at the beginning of the day and then get paid sometimes at the end of the day.
Right.
So the pub in Irish life and Dublin life is a central part of our existence, really. And this is a beautiful one.
Well, I'll tell you what, we've done our business, so should we go for a pint?
Absolutely.
Pleasure. To describe Dublin as a fair city totally undersells it. Literary giants, past and present, have walked its streets and walked into these very pubs. Dublin, you've been music to my ears.